All right. Hello, audience. All right. Did you know that according to a study by the National Center for Education Statistics, between 2000 and 2010, the percentage of elementary schools offering dance and theater programs fell by over 16%, and the percentage offering visual arts programs fell by 4%. When was the last time you looked at a piece of art, listened to a song, watched a ballet, or saw your favorite band perform live? These are all due to people that were exposed to the arts and incorporated it into their lives. Now, unfortunately, arts programs are fading due to budget cuts and a focus on core subjects such as math and science. This is incredibly sad to me because I was actually involved in several arts programs when I was younger, including music and musical theater. These programs actually helped me get through a lot of tough times in my own life, and it also made school a lot more fun, which kept me more interested in school. Now, I also found songs helpful in learning and remembering a lot of the information that I was being taught in other subjects. Unfortunately, this downward trend is producing a lackluster picture of our future. According to Concordia University Online, multiple studies have shown that arts in schools offer numerous benefits, including enhancements in educational development, which bolstered studies in math, science, and reading. They also showed improvements in creativity, critical thinking, communication skills, and more. During this time, we're going to discuss the problem at hand, why it matters to you, my proposed solution, and then I'm going to ask you for your help. Now let's begin by discussing the issue and why it's important to you. The issue is to ensure proper funding to elementary school arts programs to ensure that art is accessible to all children in order for the artists of our future to be encouraged to shine. Now, the arts surround us every day in almost everything that we do. This includes entertainment such as music, movies, and television, which are all artist contributions to society. There are also contributions in interior design and even the clothing that we're wearing right now, which are further artistic endeavors. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the arts can increase and hone a multitude of other skills as well. Now, the artwork that you see in front of me was produced by my daughter in her preschool class. This one in particular actually helped teach her about the moon and the stars during their space module. Now, she's only 3, but she was able to tell me about several planets in our solar system because of a song that was taught to her by her teacher to teach her about the space module. Now, this is only one example of how the arts can help aid in learning and retention of other subjects, in this case, science. The article titled "School Art Programs, Should They Be Saved?" by Valeria Metla mentions that students that were exposed to 4 years or more of arts programs actually scored 91 points higher on their SAT exams than students that were only exposed to a half a year or less. That same article mentions that arts encourage inventiveness, the same inventiveness needed to create groundbreaking technology such as computers and iPhones. Now, I know, or at least I'm pretty sure, that everybody in this room has an iPhone at this time. Am I right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Well, the lack of these skills that are gained from arts programs will all but encourage future innovations such as the technology that we use every day. Now, the availability of arts programs has fallen over the past several years. While music has remained relatively steady in schools, all other programs have fell between 2000 and 2010, and the percent of schools offering these programs was generally lower in schools that had a higher percentage of low-income students. This is according to the Arts Education in Public Elementary and Secondary School, 1999 to 2000 and 2009 to 2010, a study conducted by the National Center for Education Statistics. Now, the most recent recession caused many public school districts to reduce their budgets. In order to make up for this, they modified many of their programs and started by cutting the arts programs in favor of core subjects such as math, reading, and science. So now that we know the problem and why it's important to you, let's see how we could fix it. by providing more funding to public elementary schools so that we can give that to arts programs. Now, my first proposal would be to spend more tax dollars on art programs and art education. One way we could do this is by reducing money spent on our justice system, such as prison meals. We could also reduce public official salaries by even 1% and reallocate that money to arts programs in schools. This could make a significant impact. Another way we could actually accomplish incorporating art into schools is by incorporating art into other subjects, such as our core subjects. For instance, we could use theater to teach history and reading, such as putting a play on about Abraham Lincoln. We could also use music to teach things in math, such as fractions, or we could create songs in order to help students learn and retain the information of other subjects. Now, I'm sure you guys probably remember a song that was taught to you when you were younger, which is the ABC song. So let's actually sing a little bit of it right now together. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So that's just one example of how we can use music to learn other subjects. Now that we have looked at some solutions for the problem, let's look at the potential disaster that could happen if we choose to do nothing. Let's read a little about Stella the stripper. Stella was a vibrant child who loved to sing, dance, and draw. She was very bright, but always seemed to learn better when people would show her things. She was a visual learner. She also liked to make up songs to remember things. Unfortunately, her school didn't offer any arts programs. They focused solely on the core subjects. Stella came from a broken home with a low income, and there was no money to fuel her creative needs outside of school. In school, she often found herself having a difficult time learning and remembering what was being taught, but was told she just needed to try harder. Stella's grades started to slip over time, and she fell so far behind that she dropped out of school. Desperate to find a job and help her mother, she started looking, but no one wanted to hire a high school dropout. Then one day, someone told her that she could just go be a stripper. The money was good, and at least she would be able to dance. Now, do you think her life would have been different if her school incorporated arts programs?
Yes.
Absolutely. Many students, just like Stella, are visual learners and retain information better when utilizing pictures, drawings, and other visual aids. Stella would have had the tools to develop her creativity and critical thinking and had a platform to express her artistic side in music, art, and dance classes. She would have been much more likely to finish her schooling and go on to get a respectable job or even pursue college. So how can you help prevent this potential disaster and ensure a future full of art, music, creativity, and innovation? We know bringing healthy art program funding back to public elementary schools can do just that. We need to restructure tax dollars and reallocate that money back to arts programs in schools, and we can also incorporate art into all other subjects. So what I've done is written this letter here to our senators, Michael Bennet and Cory Gardner. And I wrote this to employ them to propose a law to reallocate our funds from the justice system and public official salaries back to arts programs in school. I've also included a proposal to restructure the curriculum in schools to incorporate art into other subjects. So what I would like you to do is please sign on the second page under where I've signed on any line you'd like to further amplify the message to our senators. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this around with a pen. And then as we finish up, I'd like to end with a quote from an incredible artist, Pablo Picasso. Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. Thank you very much.
Bravo, bravo.
Yay. All right, so now that we have talked about everything, I'd like to open it up for any questions that any of you might have regarding the information we just went over.
No, I'm good.
All right, so I've gone ahead and prepared a couple of questions that some people might ask regarding the topic. The first one is, what if public officials don't want to reduce salaries? That's a very valid question and very possible. So One thing I was thinking we could do is obviously show them the evidence that I've gathered and further evidence that we could investigate and try to sway them. Now, they still may decide or that they don't want to reduce their salaries, and in that case, we may try to meet in the middle and say maybe reduce the salaries by 0.5% as opposed to a whole percent. That money, while it may seem little, can still make a world of difference. Another question is, should we expand this to secondary and post-secondary education as well? I would say yes, because it's already been proven that the arts in elementary schools can help tremendously as far as retention and learning. So expanding that to all levels can only be good. The last question that some people may ask is, would arts take away from core subjects? Again, a valid question, and it may take away a small part because you would have to add art back into a curriculum that may have cut it out. So you would have to take a little bit of that time away from the other subjects. I think if we went ahead and divided that time evenly between the other subjects so that each subject, including art, would get an even amount of time, then you wouldn't see as much of a change, and art should only bolster the learning and retention that they're getting from these other subjects, as I pointed out in my speech. So thank you very much. All right. Audience, thank you for sitting through my long speech.